Jaden Daniels has continued to make progress in his recovery from a dislocated left elbow. Despite the Commanders finding themselves out of playoff contention, their starting quarterback will return to action this week. Daniels has been able to practice this week, logging a limited session on Wednesday and a full one yesterday. The reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year was recently cleared for full contact, so it comes as no surprise that he will be in place against the Vikings on Sunday. This will mark Daniels' first game action since Week 9. Questions were raised in the wake of that blowout loss about why head coach Dan Quinn kept Daniels and other starters on the field as long as he did. Since then, the Commanders have continued what is now a 7-game losing streak. Marcus Mariota has generally played well as a fill-in QB starter, but Daniels' return will certainly be welcomed by all involved. Washington's offense has been beset by injuries through much of the 2025 campaign. Ending things on a high note would mark a positive for a team that has fallen well short of its performance from last year. Daniels will look to remain on the field for the closing weeks of the campaign, and in doing so, resume his strong connection with wideout Terry McLaurin. The latter returned to action during Monday night's overtime loss to the Broncos, posting 96 yards and 1 touchdown along the way. Finishing the year with Daniels under center will help McLaurin's chances of maintaining that production. Daniels was never placed on injured reserve, but discussions did take place between the team and player about shutting him down for the remainder of the campaign. Nevertheless, the 24-year-old is set to return to action for a Washington team that currently sits at 3-9 on the year. With Daniels coming back, even with the season lost, did Washington make the right call, or are they risking the franchise's future? Drop your opinion in the comments. This space belongs to the fans. It didn't take long for former Washington Commanders safety Darnell Savage to find a new home. After requesting his release from Washington this week, the Commanders obliged. On Friday, the Buffalo Bills claimed Savage off waivers. Washington signed Savage on September 22nd, 1 week after the Jacksonville Jaguars released him. The Commanders signed Savage after starting safety Will Harris fractured his fibula. Savage, a Delaware native and University of Maryland alum, appeared in 8 games for Washington, recording 15 tackles, 1 pass defended, and 1 forced fumble. Savage played a season-high 69% of the defensive snaps in a Week 7 blowout loss to Dallas. In Week 11 versus the Miami Dolphins in Madrid, Savage played 46% of Washington's snaps. Harris returned last week against the Broncos, and Savage did not play. The Commanders released Savage on Thursday and activated defensive end Drake Jackson from injured reserve. Harris and Quan Martin started at safety for the Commanders in Week 13, with Jeremy Raves serving as the third safety. Washington also has special teams standouts Percy Butler and Tyler Owens at safety. Savage, who is a former first-round pick of the Green Bay Packers, signed a 3-year deal with the Jaguars in 2024. He played 13 games last season and was released after just 2 games this season before Washington signed him.
Washington Commanders rookie offensive tackle Josh Conerly Jr. is going through the motions in his first NFL season. The Commanders have oftentimes thrown him into the fire, but he has been able to pass the tests as he's gone on. Quote, "Yeah, I'm really impressed by the resiliency. Early on, faced some really talented rushers and, had some tough moments, which all rookies do. But he's continued to work hard, hasn't got his head down, and just battled his tail off the entire season. And so you're starting to see some of the benefits of those reps, and even the tough reps you learn from. You become a better player," Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury said of Conerly. And so I've been really impressed by the work ethic and just the mental toughness that he's displayed this season. Conerly has also benefited from playing alongside his teammate Laramie Tunsil, who has made 5 Pro Bowls in his 10 seasons in the NFL. Oh, it's been phenomenal. It's been everything. I think especially early with some of the tough times, Kingsbury said of Tunsil's mentorship. He was very open with kind of his struggles on the field and how long it took him to develop and play at the level that he felt like he really belonged. And so I think having a guy like that he's watching really dominate most days, talk through going through some of the same things he is, I think meant a lot to him. Tunsil and Conerly will be the starting tackles in the team's next game against the Minnesota Vikings, where they will be protecting for quarterback Jaden Daniels, who has been ruled as the starter for the upcoming game after missing the past few weeks with an elbow injury.
The Washington Commanders season is in its final weeks. With only 5 games remaining and a record of 3 wins and 9 losses, elimination from the playoffs is imminent. For fans, this means the focus must shift immediately to the offseason. The good news is that with a guaranteed high draft pick and significant space in the salary cap, General Manager Adam Peters will have the ammunition to be aggressive in free agency. The opportunity to reinforce the team emerges from where it is least expected: rival Baltimore Ravens. A recent contract extension in Baltimore has created a gap that the Commanders must explore. For a time, it seemed like tight end Mark Andrews' era in Baltimore was winding down and Isaiah Likely was set to be the future at the position. But the game has changed drastically. The Ravens just signed a 3-year extension with Andrews, a move that surprised the market, given the expectation that the team would prioritize the young Likely. With Andrews locked in and the Ravens' Achilles heel being the salary cap, keeping Likely becomes economically unsustainable. The Ravens only have about $28 million in effective cap space and simply cannot afford to pay 2 elite tight ends, especially with Charlie Kolar also emerging. The projected price for the franchise tag for tight ends is around $15.8 million, which is too much for the Ravens to afford. This creates a strong probability that Isaiah Likely will test the free agent market, and in this scenario, the Commanders should put him at the top of their list. The tactical fit is perfect. Zach Ertz may be heading into his final season before retirement, and the Commanders desperately need a young, explosive tight end. Likely, at just 25 years old, has already proven he can produce at a high level. He has consistently been a threat in the passing game, bringing explosiveness and yards after the catch, YAC, elements that have been missing from Washington's offense for years. The main benefit of pursuing Likely is the synergy with the quarterback. A talented tight end would greatly facilitate life for Jaden Daniels. Furthermore, signing him in free agency would save the Commanders from having to spend one of their few picks in the 2026 NFL Draft on the position. SpotTrack projects Likely's market value to be around $10 million per year, a very favorable figure for the Commanders, especially with the first-year cap hit projected to be low. Signing Isaiah Likely makes too much sense for the Commanders, and he should be a top target for Adam Peters after the season ends. And now the final question for you, Commanders fan. Considering the favorable value of $10 million per year for a young, explosive player like Isaiah Likely, should General Manager Adam Peters focus all available resources on signing him as the central piece of the offense in 2026? Or should the priority be to spend that money on the offensive line? Leave your opinion and your ideal offseason strategy in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this analysis and want to see the Commanders be aggressive in the market, don't forget to hit that like button. Your support is fundamental to keeping the channel running. Thanks.